All right, so these are the boxes that I purchased for my exploding box project that I'm going to be sharing with you. I got these at Hobby Lobby, and this is a 9-inch box which retails $7.99. Now they do have these all the time for half off, so watch that flyer because that's really the way to buy these. So these were so this one ended up being, I paid $4 for this one, $3.50 for this one. What was this one? $5.99. Yeah, so $3 and then $2.50 for that one. The nice thing about these is that they're really sturdy and they're completely finished on the inside. So that was going to work perfect for my project. I did look at doing these like in a paper mache and covering them myself, but by the time I figured the time I'd have into it, I thought these were much sturdier. This was a much better way to go. So I'm going to guess these were part of a spring collection. So I'm going to guess that as they change out stock and get rid of the seasonal things, but it's probably something you're typically going to find that they do carry in stock. Maybe not this particular pattern. I thought this one was really cute, and they did have it in stock in all 4 sizes. And then I'll kind of go over, this project does take a little bit of planning, and you may hear me say that more than once, depending on how you set it up and what you put inside. So I'll go over some of those options as well. But I'm going to be videoing this in different segments so I can do different parts, and then I'll kind of piece it all together that hopefully makes sense. But these are the boxes that I bought at Hobby Lobby, and they were pre-finished, and we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so for this part, I'm going to be showing you how I cut open the boxes. So I would recommend using a knife that's got a really nice serrated edge on it. And you're going to come in the corner, and I found that it works better if I pull the knife towards me. If you kind of saw back and forth, you're going to have more of a chance of messing up those edges inside there. So if I kind of pull, then resituate it and pull, I'm going to take that all the way down to the bottom. You know, my job is to, you know, make sure that you don't make, you know, the goofy mistakes. I had a couple that got a little messed up in here, and you could see where the pink pulled back. I had a little bit of the white paper showing, and I ended up having to touch that up with a little bit of paint. But it was a pretty easy fix. It's not super noticeable. But I've got my daughter, youngest daughter, is having a birthday coming up, and I've had this kind of in my wheelhouse for a while of something I wanted to do. So I thought, boy, if I could video this and share this project with you, that might be a fun thing. So if you have any like funky edges to clean up, you can always come in with a pair of scissors. So like if I've got a little bit of that like return on there, these aren't too bad. And you can see here with where this edge is, you know, you're going to have, you might have a little bit of that where it looks like it's offset, but it'll all make sense in the end. So what I ended up doing on mine, because, you know, I was worried about, you know, the edges and how they looked, is I've taken some contact paper, just some clear transparent contact paper, and I've put this along the edges just to give it a smoother finish, but to I'll like make it invisible. So I know you don't want to watch me sit here and try to peel apart the backing here. So I'll maybe do one, and then I'll do the other ones, but I'll explain the what's and whys of why I'm doing this. So if you only have packing tape, yes, you can use packing tape. But I'll tell you why contact paper is better, besides the fact that you have to put up with doing the peeling part. So I'm going to take this, and I want the outside just to make sure I'm getting it straight. I'm going to lay it along here. Okay. I'm going to press it down, and then I'm going to press it down into that ridge and then finish it up. I'll take my scissors, and I'll try to give you a complete tool list in the beginning so you'll have everything that you need. And then on this side, I'm going to fold all that back in. And doing that little slit there allows that little bit of relief for where the edge is. Okay, so so the thing about contact paper compared to tape, once you stick tape, that's it. And if you go to peel it up, you're going to damage the paper on the box. Okay, contact paper, I can put it down and reposition it, but it's going to hold well to here. The finish on this is matte, so it's not super noticeable. If you get really into direct light, like you can see it there, but you know, in a basic view, it's going to look pretty invisible. And that just kind of smooths out that edge. And so when I go to put this all back together, you're not really going to notice it, but it's going to feel nice on your fingers rather than having that rough edge where it's all been cut. And so I kind of felt that that was a step worth doing. Okay, so I'm just going to place that down, do the relief on that. And so when I cut my strips, they're about maybe 2 blocks, maybe a little over 2 blocks, so that's probably 1/2 inch total wide. And I'm going to need 8 pieces per box, because each wall now is going to have a side to it. So once you get all those sides cut and then covered, we can go on to the next strip. But now, like you can see, you know, that it's pretty much invisible. And when we pull that box back together, it's just going to feel nice, and it's not going to make, you know, it just helps to camouflage that cut edge just a little bit. So I'll get all these cut and finished, and we'll be back for the next step. All right, I want to go over now a couple little things so you can understand your approach that you need as far as layout. And I think the easiest way to kind of see this visually is to use the lids to show if you do them all centered, one box into another, you know, you've got maybe a little more than 1/4 inch in here. This would be fine if you're doing things that are paper thin, not very thick. But if you want to get a little more creative with what you're putting in here, you do have a couple of options. So one way to handle that, and I'll kind of show you visually here, is to open up more space. If you have something a little bulky, you could pull these over to where, like, maybe one wall sits more flush to each other. And you can see here, this opens up more space. So what would that allow you to do? So if I had something like candy I wanted to put in here, and I wanted to use something that was more of a box, I would have clearance to do that. Okay, you might want to watch. These would be maybe a little more iffy, but it is possible that would fit. Everyone needs a good Sour Bright Llama in their exploding gift box. So if you're doing things that are thinner, like what can you put in these? Like you could do anything from office supplies, you could do photos, you could do some beauty items, you could use even, you know, makeup brushes that aren't too bulky could go in a section. You could possibly maybe fit like a thinner piece of clothing in there. The other thing is if I had more all bulky items, I could offset the whole thing like this and put my bulky items on one side, and I could still put like maybe some photos or thin things or words of encouragement here. So to help you to understand how that works, okay, so this is understanding the space. So it does take planning on what you're putting in your box. So if you do them all centered, when the box is open, they're going to open up and look like this. Oh, a piece of my tape is coming loose here. So if I was offsetting them, let's say I was doing all in a corner. Let me pull all that down. Okay, they're going to open up like this. So what that means is, and I don't think it's going to have, you know, it's not going to ruin the effect or anything, but it just means you're going to have more space. So if I had something bulky in here on a back wall, and say that's adhered there, and let's say we had candy here, let's do maybe a face mask that way. So and then what else can I do? Let's just, so in the middle here, I could put a bulkier item that could fit inside that 5-inch box. And then I could still possibly, you know, use the sidewall for something. So it just depends on how much space I have. But when each layer opens, you know, those things will be connected to those walls until you get to the surprise center. Now, let's say you wanted to do something a little bulkier, like I've got this special t-shirt that I've done. You could take out a layer. Let's do it on the bigger one. Let's take out that one. So you could put like a bulkier item here, and then medium items here. Then you could have some photos and words of encouragement on these sides, and then you could still have something in the middle here. So it just depends on what your items are. So planning is going to be essential here. I probably wouldn't say like, okay, do this one offset, do this one in the center. I would stick with one theme. If you're offsetting like to one side like this, then maybe do them all that way. I think it'll look a little bit better when it opens. Or if you're going to offset it twice, do them in the corners so you've got room for bulkier items, then I would do them all that way. So so planning's going to be key, and that's the part where I'm still kind of collecting some of my items so I can figure out what I need, how many of this and that, how many thin things. But the idea of this is just to create something that's unique, that's fun and exciting, something different. I've seen these done before with like explosion boxes that have like for photos, or maybe ones with candy. But I've never done one myself, so this is part of my learning curve too. So hopefully we'll get this all figured out together, but I did want to share my process as I've been working towards this, and I hope that we'll see what happens next. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how I set up my box with the little gifts inside. So here would be how you would present it, unless you wanted to put a bow on the top. So we'll go ahead and take the lid off. So the first sides that come down, and so depending on how many gifts you have. So on the back side I put happy birthday, and then I was looking for little gifts that would be flat that I could fit in, you know, the width of what I had here on the side. So I've got some Sour Patch Kids and a little cosmetic bag and some calendar stickers. So then we have the next box inside, and as it flaps open, I have to use. So if it's thin and light, I just use like a double-sided tape. And then depending heavier items, I would use hot glue. So I've got these here. So I just have like a little spot of hot glue here. Just a little spot of hot glue here, so you can see I can lift it on that side. So this is a little eye palette and some little nail files, and I found these little things here like at Ulta. And then we go into the next box. Okay. Oh. So, and then here we have some little face masks and some little scrunchy hair elastics. So these were in a box and I just took them out so I could still use them in here. So that's another option to keep in mind. And then we get to the final one here. Okay, so I have, you know, look who's 22, and then I've got some little fun things inside, and then these are some little for plants, like little decorative ladybugs. So this is how the exploding box would work out. And again, you know, you can be creative, think outside of the box. These were in a different package, so I took them out and just put a little dot of hot glue on them. And that is how I set up my exploding box. So I hope you enjoyed that, and maybe you'll have a chance to make one yourself for a unique gift.